sure this is tight enough that she doesn't fall. We want to check for, I'll turn it this way. I think the light will be better this way. Checking for our center bit, and we're going to split this right down the center. And you can see how having that Bond Pro product in there, it just lets me really easily section this out and part it. Not that it wouldn't be too hard to do just with water, which most of the time that is what I like to do. But if someone has a little extra damage or you just want to upgrade your service a little bit, that's a great way to add value. And you make it easier for you to cut. Then from there, once we're parted down the center, we're going to think about what's the area that has too much weight, where do we want to decrease that weight and veil over it. We have to make sure that we have enough length from above that can veil over. So I'm going to think of this as being about the occipital area to right behind the ear. So we're just taking a slight horizontal diagonal forward section right there, meaning it's basically horizontal, but it angles down a teeny bit, follows the shape of the head a little bit. We're going to be slightly high on that side. We want this to be balanced. That's going to be a big part of it. It has to be balanced. Otherwise, when they put their hair up, you're going to really tell. Okay. And then from there, what we're going to do is start cutting in a bit of graduation into this to flatten this area out. I know we think about graduation as building weight a lot of the time, but if we veil over it and we take that corner off, even though it creates a bit of support for the shape, it will take some of that weight out, make it easier to style, and flatten the back out a teeny bit. So, Dylan, I'll have you stand over here on this side. You could do this whole thing with a razor. You could do the whole thing with a scissor. We're going to do a combination of both scissor and razor just because, for fun. That's why. So we're starting off down the center. We're going to split this down the center. If you have questions as well, feel free to type them in. If Dylan sees them and they're not inappropriate, then he'll ask. Maybe he'll ask the inappropriate ones too if we're lucky. So, now we have this split down the center. You see the shape? Split on one side. And then we're going to take a vertical diagonal forward section on this side. So just a slightly diagonal section. Then what you do is you wait for the fire department to drive by. Once they've gone, now we can start. So what do we know about graduation? When we're cutting graduation, we're building weight and we're cutting at 45 degrees. So when we bring this out, let's get kind of close on my hands for these sections here. We're going to put our fingers in right behind our comb, and then we're going to find an angle, find a 45-degree angle just like that. So we're longer at the top, short at the bottom. And then I'm going to start cutting right along my fingers. Coming in, find that 45-degree angle, like really exaggerate it. Find the angle there. And we keep coming down. I don't like to cut past my second knuckle because I don't have as good of tension past my second knuckle. So I'm taking about 3 little sections there. And then when I comb this out, we want to look at that shape. See how that gives you a curve in the shape right now? That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see this slightly longer, tapering down to get tighter at the bottom. Now, from there, this is going to be our guide for the rest of this graduation. We're just going to pivot slightly, taking a little vertical diagonal section. And remember, we have 3 different angles of sectioning that we use when we're cutting hair, and each one does something a little different, right? So if we are taking a vertical section, even when we're cutting graduation, I'd say generally it's because we want a leaner and flatter graduation. If we're taking a horizontal section, we're going to get a heavier buildup of weight. We're going to start to create weight lines in the hair and build weight a lot faster. So for this, I know that I want to flatten this underneath section out a teeny bit. So I'm working more of a vertical graduation so I don't get too bulky and too heavy right away. So again, our 2 sections in, we've got our weight at the top, and then it tapers at the bottom. Our next section here, we're going to take, again, a vertical diagonal forward section, just like that. You could clip this if you want, but you could also just push it away. And we're bringing everything straight back. So there's an ambulance now. Who is so inconsiderate that they would be injured and have their life at stake during my life? Anyway, it's people. So, we're not over-directing all the way to the center. If we bring all the way to the center, we're going to get a very A-line kind of graduation here. We're going to bring everything straight back. That will give us balance, a little bit of square shape, and a teeny bit of extra weight in the corners without making it so A-line. We're not trying to make this like A-line graduation. So, over-directing to my previous here. Look, you can see my guides. You can see them right through. Like there's that guide right through that section. See it? We want to pull basically out from where it lives, pulling straight back. Fingers are right behind the comb. I rotate out to find that 45-degree angle, and then I'm going to cut right along my fingers. I need my fingers to be like my ruler so that I can be very accurate and precise. Rotating a teeny bit, coming in, 45-degree angle. We want to find that 45. Like really crank that angle out. See, I come in, I find the 45, right? And that way I'm continuing that same angle from the top all the way down to the bottom. Here's our next one. And you can see these are not exactly pivoting sections. They're diagonal sections that are following the shape of that head. They're parallel to each other as we go. But we're bringing this straight back. So I don't want to be out here. I'm over-directing back away from that corner. So our next one here, I'm picking up a little of the guide. Notice that I'm not like comb this, get a bit of the guide. I have my new section. I pick it up, and that will naturally pick the guide up with it, right? That's very easy. You don't have to stress too hard about it. I often think people are overthinking that. We're just going to put the comb in and let it pick the guide up. We're going to find that 45-degree angle, and then we're going to follow that line. Make sure your sections are small enough that you can very easily see your guide inside of your sections. If you can't see your guide, you need to drop your new section and pick up a little bit less hair. The guide needs to be very, very clear. I have a saying, I say, when in doubt, you just chicken out. If you're like, ooh, I don't know where my guide is, I can't really see it, then you need to chicken out. Don't cut anything. You could close your eyes and let it ride if you want. All right, here's our corner. So we're over-directing back away from the corner. Just square back, coming back this way, looking for our guide underneath and just connecting that weight. Here's our last section here. Remember, I'm not out here. I got to bring it back. So we look at it this way. I don't want to pull out here. I'm pulling this straight back like that. Maybe we can get an angle down. Can you show it that way? Mm-hmm. So not pulling here, bringing it back. Everything is brought back like that, and we have a little slightly increasing length as we go. You can see everything is square back, square back. So here's our last section here. Bringing it back at 45 degrees. I can see my guides very clearly, so I can cut. And then what have we done? We've made a little graduated section there. So you can see it's your classic graduated bob. I mean, that is what we're getting. We're getting that little bit of buildup of weight, and we're ignoring our perimeter for now. We could leave the perimeter, or we could come back and create a more defined shape. Now for the hard part. We're going to work our right side. If you're a right-handed hairdresser, then this is going to be your hard side generally. If you're a left-handed hairdresser, the opposite. It'll be your easy side, and the first side would be your hard side. Why? Because we're working palm to palm. On this side, we're working this way. On this side, we're going to switch and work that way. And I always find it's a little more difficult for me to work this angle than it is to work this angle. But, you know, it might be different for you. So we'll have to come to this side now. This guide, again, your first section, that is going to be your guide for the rest of this graduation. So make sure that you're happy with that in the beginning. I call that your design line. That's the line that creates the design. Everything else follows that line. So vertical diagonal forward section here on this side. We're going to comb that this way. The only difference is I've lowered my client a little because now I have to come up here. We're going to come to the top. I'm going to rotate a teeny bit. Our fingers are not pointing down, but it's going to be the same process. We just come in. I'm going to find that 45-degree angle. I need to make sure that I can clearly see my guides. And then we're going to work that graduation in, just like that. Now, this is a great time that it's good to be able to do a flat hand position. Because look when I get down here. I can't really get in. It's hard for me to get in. But if I can flip my hand over like that and flip my scissor, it's going to be much easier for me to cut on this side. So you want to practice that flat position so that you're able to rotate your scissor around and not have the neck and your thumb be in your way. All right, so here's our next section here. Again, we're going to take vertical diagonal forward sections, just like that. I'm going to rotate a teeny bit. We're picking up our previous guide, essentially pulling right out from where it lives, thinking about being just parallel to the wall. Look for my 45-degree angles. I could cut this way, but I might just switch like this to make it easier on myself. Now, learning that flat hand position isn't necessarily easy, but when you learn it, it becomes easy to use once it's learned, and it makes things a lot easier to do. I'm combing out each one of these sections, looking for the shape. It's like I want to see that same graduated shape. We could check for balance right here if we wanted. Like I can lift up and see, okay, these pieces are coming to the same place. That's exactly what we want to see. You could cross-check like this and see, are we getting a bit of balance? We might even have a teeny little bit of weight, and we'll clean that up. But the shape should be there. I mean, it shouldn't be something you have to look for. Again, vertical diagonal forward, parallel sections as you go to create a flatter, leaner graduation. So we'll bring this out, angling. I'm looking for my, we're going to start at the top actually. I like to work the top down. Combs in, rotate to 45 degrees. Look for my guides there. Flip my scissor and connect. Once you have that first guide in, you can move their head all around, I feel like, because as long as you're following the first guide that you're happy with, you know that you're going to be accurate all the way through. Okay? Combing to look for the shape each time. We want to see that curve and then that tuck at the bottom. Vertical diagonal. Remember to be square back. Don't pull to the corner. Pull away from the corner so we keep a little more weight in that corner. 45 degrees. Coming in. Connect. And again, I like to work from the top to the bottom. And I keep a low elevation here at the bottom to make sure I'm not taking too much of that perimeter away. Comb to look for the shape. We see we're getting really consistent curve and graduation there. You know, people are always like, oh, nobody wants a graduated bob anymore. And that's true. Maybe we're not doing a whole lot of stacked bobs, but I guarantee that they will be back and they'll be popular. And you'll be able to see in this moment how I'm using graduation on a look that won't actually look stacked, but it helps with the shape that we're trying to create. So it's a very important skill that we do not want to forget just because it's not the most popular look at the moment. All right, so we got a little heavy on the side. Oh, there it is. I can see it right away. So we're going to, I must have overdirected too far. There's that little bit of weight. We're going to come back, clean that up. Overdirect. Oh, I'm going to leave this little corner out because it's just a teeny bit too high on that section. Yeah, there's that guide there. So we just got a little too heavy there. Combing it out. Looking for that graduation. I really want to just see a beautiful graduated shape there. Now I'm going to do a cross check. Lift this up. And only taking a teeny little bit to make it just that much cleaner. If you see a lot of weight, a lot of length coming off in your cross check, you want to go back and cut it the original way that you cut that section. Because otherwise you're going to end up changing the shape a little bit. All right, now let's just define this outline a little bit. So here's what we're going to do. Why don't we come in and do a little, we'll match the hairline some. So we're going to come in this way and just cut some of that outline out and create a little curve on that side. So maybe you can come to this side and take a peek. So check it out. That's what we're trying to do, is create a little curve shape in the outline.